Hi, this is Jana Whitley, and today I'm going to be explaining how to make the Baby Yoda and Bassinet pattern. And you can get this free pattern from my Ravelry shop. My username is Jana Geek, so that's JanaGeek. And so you'll want to print this pattern off. It's pretty short. I was able to fit it on one sheet of paper, front and back. And here's what the finished Baby Yoda figure will look like. As you can see, it's just a simple kind of oval shape, and just one piece, and then the ears are sewn on separately. It's got the two eyes that are the 6mm size, so that means they're 6mm across in diameter. And so here's the eye before you put it in, with the washer that goes on the back to keep it in place. I usually order mine online. They sell them, you can get them at Amazon. There's also a place called Glass Eyes Online that sells doll eyes. It's a really great selection. I like the Darice brand. It's Darice, because they're really smooth and really well made. Then here's the bassinet. Again, it's just a simple, just single crochet with increases. And then the bottom, the only tricky part is just doing your back post single crochet, which it kind of turns the edge. And then you're going to do another row of single crochet into the back post single crochets. And then it forms a little egg like so. And you may need to adjust. I would recommend, as you're going, you might need to adjust the number of rows you do, depending on how it fits. So as you're going, put it over the little figure to see if you need to take off a row, or maybe even add a row. Okay, so let's get started. I'm going to go as slowly as possible in case you're, really new to crochet, so you can learn all the basics. So here's the things you'll need. You've got your light green yarn, and then a light brown, and then a little bit darker shade of brown, and then a shade of gray. You'll also need about this much stuffing, and I use a polyester fiberfill. And let's see, of course you'll need a little pair of scissors, and a darning needle. So I like the blunt tipped ones. And my favorite for amigurumi making has this little bent tip, and they're by Clover. I think it's called Clover Chibi. And they have two sizes, and this is the bigger one. I also really like the Clover soft touch hooks, because they have this comfortable grip, and they have some kind of special coating, makes smooth heads. So you'll need the size E and size F, which is 3.5mm and 3.75mm. So the E hook you're going to be using for the Baby Yoda and the ears, and then the F hook you're going to be using for the bassinet. So because it's basically the same pattern, or the same increases and so forth, but with a bigger hook it'll make it just big enough that it'll fit over Baby Yoda. Alright, and then what else do we need? It's helpful to have some pins for when you're putting the ears on to hold them in place while you're sewing. And I like these ones with the big heads on them. Don't use little dressmaker pins, the ones with the teeny tiny heads, because they'll probably get lost into the crochet. And I think that's everything you need to get started. So some nice things to have. I like to have a bowl to put my yarn in, so as it's feeding out. Also, you'll want to have something to mark your stitches, a stitch marker. So my favorite thing is just to cut a piece of yarn about 3 inches long. You can also use a paper clip or a safety pin or plastic commercial stitch markers that you buy in a craft store. But I tend to like this better because it's just faster to put on and off. And so let's get started. Let's tidy this up. And so we're going to start with that E hook, and we want to have our stitch marker ready, and we'll start with a green yarn. So now if this is your first time crocheting, I'm going to show you how to make the well, you know what? We're going to do the magic loop. Normally, if you don't want to do the magic loop, you can do a slip knot. So, like, for example, okay, the first, the instructions say round 1, single crochet 5 in a magic loop for 5 stitches. So normally with the magic loop, you would hold the tail end of the yarn, the cut end, like so, in your non-dominant hand, which should be, if you're right-handed, that would be your left hand. And then you're going to wrap the working end, which comes from the ball. You're going to wrap that around the top of your fingers, like so. And so it forms an X. And then turn your fingers over, like so. Bring your hook underneath the first yarn wrap, and then turn the hook over, grab the second yarn wrap, pull it under the first, and then you're going to give it kind of a twist like that so it crosses over. Alright, I'll show you again. So you're going to, I'm holding the working end with my pinky to keep it tight, and so I'm putting this hook underneath, turn it over so that the head grabs that yarn, pulls it under, and then I'm going to give this a twist like so. And then I'm going to twist again with this. I've got the working yarn held there. I'm going to it's called a yarn over, where I go underneath, grab it with the head of the hook, and then I slide it through that loop and pop it through like that, and then I turn the head up, and now I've got a slip knot there. I'm going to tug it so it's tighten up the knot. So this is my magic loop. I'm going to take it off my fingers, and now you can see I've got kind of this lasso. And the cool thing about this is I can crochet into this and then tighten it up like so. And that way I won't have any a hole in the middle of my work. So with this hole here, now I'm going to do 5 single crochet. So single crochet, you're going to go into the loop, into the magic loop, and I have the working tail coming this way, and I'm going to crochet over both the working tail and the loop. So I go into the loop, yarn over, and pull through. Now I've got 2 loops on the hook, and then yarn over again and pull through both loops, and that's my first single crochet. And I just realized I didn't explain what I'm doing with my left hand to tension the yarn and feed it to the hook. So real quick, I'll just explain. This is how I do it. There's many methods, but this is how I learned. Is just with your non-dominant hand, you're gonna put the yarn into the pinky and then wrap it around the back of the finger. And this is because the pinky is going to control the stop and the start of the flow of the yarn. And that takes some getting used to, so I would recommend, if you're brand new to this, I would recommend practicing this with some chain stitching and then tensioning your yarn. So again, around there, Now it's going to come over the first finger, and with your tall finger and thumb, you're going to hold the work close to the hook. And so this finger is going to create tension, this space where your hook is going to be able to swing around, and it's going to pull in that direction while your hook is pulling in this direction. And so, for example, if I'm making a chain stitch and I swing it under and then curve the hook and then pull the head of the hook along there, pop it through that working loop, and then kind of turn it up. So now I can adjust the tension if needed. I could pull it this way, or I could use my finger to pull it the other way. And so yeah, you can practice the chaining if you need to. You just pull through, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through. So if you're brand new, chaining is the best way to get started. But I'm going to go back to the single crochet. So I've done the one single crochet into that magic loop. I'm going to go into that magic loop again and yarn over, pull through. I've got 2 loops on the hook. Yarn over again and pull through both loops. There's my second single crochet. And you can see on the top I've got these V shapes. There's 1 and 2, so I made 2 single crochets. All right, let's go into that loop again. Yarn over, pull through the loop. Yarn over again, pull through the loop. There's 3. Okay, let's make another one. We go through the loop, yarn over and pull through, and then yarn over and pull through both. And as you can see, I'm using this finger on my right hand to kind of place it behind the hook, and it helps to kind of feel when I'm pulling it through. So let's go into the hook, into the loop, yarn over and pull through, and you got 2 on the hook, yarn over, pull through. Okay, there's 5, and so you can count. If I take my hook out, you can see this working loop, which is the loop of whenever I finish a stitch. You don't count that in your stitch count. This is 0. So I say 0 and then 1 for that first V, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then there's kind of a horizontal thing, and that's the last bit where I started. All right, so I'm going to put my hook back in, and I know the magic of the magic loop is I'm going to pull this tail really tight, and it's going to cinch up those stitches into a little circle. So there we go. So there's 5 around. Now I'm going to use my stitch marker. I'm going to lay it across the last stitch. I'm going to fold it this way, and then just hold it in place while I go to I'm going to insert my hook under both loops. So there's the V, the first V. I'm going to put my hook under both loops because there's a front loop and a back loop. See, this is the front loop. This is the back loop. So when I'm crocheting, well, unless the pattern tells me otherwise, I'm going to always put my hook through both loops. And then I'm going to start increasing around, which means I'm going to make a single crochet. So I pull through, and then I make that single crochet. Now I'm going to go into that same stitch again. I'm going to do 2 single crochets in that same hole, and there's 2 single crochets. And I'm going to do the same thing all the way around. So there's a single crochet, and then in the same stitch do another single crochet, and then go into that next V, putting my hook under both, and single crochet and single crochet, and then just keep going around. And this is going to double the stitch count. So where we had 5 in the first round, we're going to have 10 in the second round. All right, and so there's the stitch marker. So don't go into the stitch that has the stitch marker in it. That's the start of the next round. So we're going to count, make sure we got 10. So there's 0, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. We're ready to go on to round 3, and it says single crochet 2 in the next single crochet, single crochet in the next single crochet, and it's got little brackets around it, which means we're going to repeat that sequence of stitches 5 times, which gives us a total of 15. So we're going from 10 stitches around to 15, which means we're adding 5 extra stitches regularly. So let's move up our stitch marker and fold it across this way. We're going to go into that next stitch under both loops. We're going to single crochet 2 in that stitch, like so. So there's an increase. We've increased like that, and you can see there's the 2 kind of V shapes, and then we're going to go 1 single crochet in the next. Okay, that's our first sequence, and now we're going to repeat by going in the next stitch. We're going to go 1 and 2 in the same stitch, and then 1 in the next stitch. Okay, there's our second sequence. We're going to repeat that again. So go in the next stitch, there's 1 and 2 in that single crochet. And in the next stitch, we're going to just do 1 single crochet. So there's a third sequence, and then we're going to repeat again. So there's our increase, and then our 1 single crochet. And then here's our, we're going to do our last, that was our fourth, we're going to do our last, fifth and last repeat. So there's 1, 2 in that 1 stitch, and then 1 single crochet. All right, so there's 1, 2, 3 rounds, and it's kind of forming a nice concave shape. So at this point is a good time to talk about the right side and wrong side of crochet. So normally when you're crocheting, it tends to want to curve with the right side on the inside. So if you ever had contact lenses, it kind of resembles a contact lens. So what you need to do is you need to pop it, turn it so that the right side of the stitching is on the outside. And the way you can tell is if I'm crocheting and the working loop and the hook are on the opposite side from me, that means the wrong side is out. So you can see the wrong side. It has little horizontal crossbars across each stitch. And the right side does not have those crossbars. It just has lovely little V's. So this is important when you're crocheting in a spiral, in rounds, because you want, I prefer having that right side out because I think it looks better than the wrong side. I mean, you can have the wrong side out, but it has a different look to it. So again, we're going to turn it so that now that you're crocheting, you will have the working loop and the hook closest to you in this circle. So it should be like this. Now let's move up that stitch marker. We're going to do round 4, which says we single crochet 2 in the next single crochet, and then single crochet in the next 2 single crochets. We repeat that sequence 5 times for a total of 20 stitches. So we're going to go into that next, did we count? We should count, right? Always a good idea to count. Make sure you get the math right. So there's 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Okay, good. So I'm going to tighten that up. Put the stitch marker back on, and there we go. 1 and 2, and then we're going to go a singleton and then a singleton. So there's our first sequence, which is an increase, or 2 single crochets in in the stitch below it, and then 1 and then 1. There we go. And then we're going to repeat that the next time. We're going to do an increase, and then 1 and then 1, and then an increase, and 1 and 1, and increase, and then 1 and 1, and an increase, and then 1 and 1. Okay, so I'm going to count now. There's 0, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and 20 right there. All right, so there's 20. Now all of these rounds are going to be multiples of 5. So if you know your 5 times tables, remember it goes 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. So this round 5 is, oh, you know what? No, we're not doing 25 around this in this figure. So this is the part, rounds 5 and 6. We're just going to single crochet in each, single crochet around for 20. So easy peasy. You're just get to do single crochets in each stitch, and you don't have to worry about repeats of increases or counting. So yeah, we're just gonna go around real quick. I'll go fast on this part. You can fast forward your video player also if you want to in this part, or skip ahead to round 7. There we go. Oh no, I'll mention the brands of yarn I'm using. This particular yarn is from Hobby Lobby. It's the brand is I Love This Yarn. It's a worsted weight, and the name is Pistachio. So it's kind of a really pale green. All right, now I'm going to do another round, and I'm just going to leave my stitch marker in because I'm lazy like that. All right, we'll go round and round, and when we get to the end of this round, we're going to do a color switch. So that's another skill that's important to know in amigurumi, how to switch colors of yarn. And we'll fasten off this green because we don't need any more green. This is the little baby Yoda head. The rest of it will be his little robe. All right, so we get here, and you can see I'm going to count my rows. There's the first round is 1, and then 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And it's interesting that when you're making amigurumi, the stitches stack on each other kind of on an offset way. If you think of how bricks are laid, the cracks between the bricks aren't on top of each other, they're offset. So it's kind of similar in amigurumi. So when you're making the rounds, they kind of stack at an angle. So this round, like here, is 4, 5, and 6, and so they kind of angle a little bit this way. All right, so let's work on this color switch. So for this round, we're gonna now what we want to do actually is I'm gonna just pull out that last stitch, because what we need to do is when we're color switching for that last single crochet in the round, you're gonna start it like normal. You're gonna go under both loops. You're gonna grab your green yarn. You're gonna pull it through. Now, instead of finishing that stitch with the last yarn over and pulling through, and to color switch, we're gonna finish that stitch with the light brown yarn. So I'm going to take about 4 inches and fold it like so, and then I'm going to grab that loop and I'm going to pull it through so that it forms the last part of that single crochet. Now I'm ready to start my round 7, but first I'm going to cut the green yarn with about 3 inches of a tail like so. All right, now I'm going to kind of hold those little working ends in place with this finger so they don't slip around. And then I'm just going to single crochet 2 or 3 like so. And now I'm going to pull this working loop up. And I'm going to come behind here. I'm going to turn this wrong side out. And what I'm going to do to fasten to secure these yarns. See, I've got these 2 tails from my color switch, and I like to tie a little square knot so that they'll not become loose. So I'm just going to do a square knot, which is right over left, and then twist it under like so, and then left over right. So take that left and go over the right, and then wrap it underneath. So there is my square knot, except you know what, I need to tighten this part up. So let's do that, and then don't pull it super tight because you don't want to distort the stitches. Just snug enough that it holds that knot, and then I can just leave these ends on the inside because they'll be in there with the stuffing and you won't see them. All right, so let's go back to light brown. All right, again, we're just gonna, just like the rounds before, we just have to do single crochet. We don't have to worry about counting or increases. And in a few rounds, we're going to start doing decreases to make the bottom. And so that's a new stitch because I like to use the invisible decrease, which is just perfect for amigurumi because it hides the decrease. It's almost invisible compared to the other stitches around it, or I should say it looks just like the other stitches around it. It's pretty hard to tell that it's an invisible decrease stitch. Alright, so I'm forming 2 of these rounds of this light brown to form kind of the collar of his robe. And I believe this yarn I'm using is from, I think it's from Michael's Craft Store, and it's I believe it's Vanna's Choice, or it's Lion brand, Vanna's Choice solids, and it's a worsted weight, and I believe the color is called almond. If I remember, I bought this yarn years and years ago, so and I don't have the tag information anymore, but usually I can kind of tell from the sheen and the thickness and the fuzziness what brand of yarn it is. You know what, I went a little too far because I forgot to put my stitch marker in back, but I can see the color switch. I can see where I needed to end, so I'm just going to pull it back there. Whoopsie. Okay, so there we go. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All right, now we're going to color switch again. So I'm gonna back out and pull out that last stitch, and then form it again like so. There's 1, and then grab the darker brown yarn and grab about 3 inches of working, the tail, and then grab that loop and then pull it through, and then kind of snug up behind. Cut the light brown yarn, and then I'm going to hold these tails behind as I go to the next stitch. And let me make sure I put my stitch marker in, and okay, let's put it in there. All right, and then again, if you need to snug these up, and I should probably use a different color stitch marker here because I'm going to confuse it with my my tails. So I'm going to just quickly grab some gray yarn to make another stitch marker. All right, there we go. All right, let's get going again. So now I'm going to go about 2 or 3 stitches, and then I'll come back here, turn it wrong side out, and then take those light brown and darker brown, make a square knot. Remember, right over left and left over right makes a knot that's tidy and tight. That's how I have to remember. Otherwise I do what's called a granny knot, which tends to come undone. All right, let's keep going. I like to tuck in those ends down at the bottom so they don't get in the way. Very good. Okay, and zoom, zoom. Here we go. So we're going to do 2 rounds of this darker brown, just round and round as we go. Okay, so let's see, what can I share with you that's important, would be interesting while I'm doing this repetitive work. Let's see. Oh, this brown yarn, just so you know, is called it's Red Heart Super Saver. It's worsted weight. Red Heart Super Saver you can buy in Walmart or any other craft store like Joann or Michael's. I think Hobby Lobby has it. Not 100% sure. So this is this color, I believe it's called Latte. It actually works. Both the light brown and the dark, this latte, the almond and the latte, actually work very nicely for skin tones of different dolls. So for example, for my Disney princess crochet patterns, I use the almond for Mulan and Jasmine, and I use the latte for let's see, what's the gal's name in the Frog Princess? I can't remember her name right now. Anyways, or also Pocahontas. I use that color yarn. All right, now, so we've done 2. Let's count. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 rounds. So now we are going to attach the eyes between rounds 5 and 6, 3 stitches apart. And it's helpful to position the color switch on the back. So you can see how there's a little bit of a jog here where it steps down because of the color switch. So I like to have that on the back. So we're going to turn that around. I'm going to put the eyes in the front. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we would put the eyes in this round here. And now with these tiny eyes, sometimes they will pull right through like you can, depending on how loose your stitches is, they might pull through the fabric. Like this one's actually pretty snug. So, but if that's an issue, if they're gonna see the spaces between the posts, if the eye is small enough that it slips through, then what you'll want to do is put the post of the eye just right into a stitch itself. See, there's the V of the stitch, and you can actually insert that post, kind of wiggle it right down into that V of the stitch and put it there. But for my stitching is pretty snug, and it's holding the eyes in place. So I'm going to put it right there. And then I'm going to go, this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Well, I'll do 4 stitches apart. Just, whatever you like, whatever looks good. You don't have to follow my directions exactly for the placement. Okay, so that looks good to me, and I'll compare it to this guy. So it's about the same. And keep in mind when you stuff it, it is going to stretch a little bit, so you can kind of pull it and say, what is it going to look like so. Now that I've got those in place, I'm going to turn my work wrong side out like that, the posts out. I'm going to take my little washer, and I'm going to put my thumbs on the back of the eyes, and then with my first fingers, I'm going to put that washer and pull it down. It takes some oomph to it, and it's going to click, and just usually 2 clicks will do the job. I wouldn't go all the way to 3, just because it tends to, the washer will tend to kind of bulge on the right side, so I like to leave a little bit of wiggle room for that washer, a little bit of once. Okay, so let's put that second one on like so. Pushing 1, 2 clicks. There we go. So there's our washers. Kind of looks like a minion. So then we're going to turn it right side out like so. All right, and let's continue. Now you're going to move your stitch marker up, and we are going to, for around 11, we're going to do some decreasing. Now, so decrease, it says round 11 single crochet in the next 2, and you know what, actually I'm going to pause and restart. Hang on a second.